Splatterhouse is the first horror video game series ever. After debuting in North American arcades in 1989, the original Splatterhouse was ported to the TurboGrafx-16 in 1990. Playing as Rick, you must save your girlfriend Jennifer from monsters and atrocities throughout the series, and the first two entries were side-scrolling games with gruesome characters and heavy violence. The sequel, Splatterhouse 2, was released on the Sega Genesis in 1992. The follow-up was Splatterhouse 3, which took the game from a side-scroller into a more open environment where you would search throughout a mansion in 2D, but be able to move in a 3D plane. Splatterhouse 3 came to the Genesis in 1993.
So as you can see, Splatterhouse is a very dark, very gritty, very bloody game with lots of evilness in it, and it's perfect for Halloween. At the time of this filming, it's almost Halloween, and I have my orange pumpkin shirt on, and I'm ready to go. But what about the NES? The NES didn't really have any games like Splatterhouse. Or did it? There was actually a Splatterhouse game that released only in Japan for the NES, and through reproductions, it is now available in the United States and all over the world. And I have it! It's called Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti, and yeah, it looks a little different than the traditional Splatterhouse, but what the hell? It's Halloween, it's Splatterhouse, let's get ready to play some spoopy games! With the haunting glow of a spooky little light, we are now ready to play Splatterhouse on the NES.
Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti was released in 1989 for the Famicom, and once again has you playing as Rick. The game starts out with Jennifer mourning at Rick's grave, and then a lightning bolt hits the grave, bringing Rick back to life. At the same time comes along the Pumpkin King, who will have none of that, and he captures Jennifer, forcing Rick to literally come back from the dead, and the first thing he has to do is save his woman. The game is faster paced than other Splatterhouse games, with more of an emphasis on platforming.
The controls are pretty good, and I really like the spooky graveyard. That's always a good place for a horror game. You gotta have a graveyard. I mean, it's stock, but it gets the job done. I just like beating things in the head. You got crosses coming after you, all sorts of scary shit. That's the way a good horror game should be. Even though it has cliches, this was one of the pioneers.
And things remain creepy until you get to this part of the game.
What is this? Is he flicking me off? I want to hate it because it's not very spooky, but I can't look away. It's majestic.
As you continue throughout the game, you come across many horror-themed areas and do some battling and platforming. And then you get to a really cool boss who just exuberates evil.
Aw yeah, now we're getting into some real evil shit. Ho ho ho! Hail Satan! I will say the boss battles are pretty creative in this game. Namco really knew what they were doing with this series, and it's a shame that it just kind of died off after the Genesis.
As Rick goes throughout the game's many levels, he can gain experience points from defeating enemies. The more enemies you defeat, the more experience you get, which in turn makes your life bar larger. With a large number of levels and enemies to battle in Splatterhouse, it's wise to get Rick as strong as possible in order to save Jennifer.
The level design is pretty well done too. And the graphics, although a bit cartoony, are pretty impressive, I must say. Now, we gotta find that Pumpkin King though.
Finally, Rick gets to battle his nemesis, the Pumpkin King.
Wait a minute. The Pumpkin King? Am I the Pumpkin King? So Splatterhouse Wanpaku Graffiti might not be the dark and disgusting Splatterhouse experience that was on other consoles, but for the NES, it's not a bad game. It's a pretty fun side-scroller, and there are some evil elements, kind of like Castlevania, to kind of pass it along as a more dark and gritty game. It's a shame that nothing really ever dark and really scary came out on the NES, but Splatterhouse is a pretty fun game on the NES. I suggest you pick it up. If you can't find a Japanese copy, pick up a repro copy. It's very fun, and I think you guys will enjoy it. Hope you guys enjoy this review. Have a safe and happy Halloween. Make sure you get some video games when you go trick-or-treating, and I'll catch you guys next time. Later. Now that really is a shame that they never made any scary NES games. But, yeah, oh well. What the hell did I just step on? Sweet Home. Never heard of this game. Looks pretty scary. Wonder if it's any good.
RGT, NA5! RGT, NA5! RGT, NA5!